Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Um, a big hello to everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It's certainly an extreme privilege for me to be asked to come and do a little presentation. Again, as Keisha mentioned, yes, my name is Marcello, and of course you see it on the slide here. Maybe if anybody wants to send a comment, then hopefully everybody can hear me okay and can see the slides. So again, my name is Marcello, and I am an employment consultant and online facilitator with ACCES, and I'm part of what's called the Speed Mentoring team at ACCES Employment. I'm actually in my 13th year with ACCES, and it's been a privilege to be on this journey. You know what? It's interesting because when Keisha and the online services team approached me back the latter part of last year to come up with a topic and a webinar, and the first thing that came to my mind was what you see in front of you here. It's called Let's Rap. And you probably guessed by now, and I won't give it everything away quite yet. You'll see it as we go through. But the R.A.P is an acronym for 3 key messages, which I'm going to share with you as we go through the presentation today. And these are 3 key messages that I've used, still use, and will be using in life and career. Really, three key things that we all know deep down. Once you see them, you'll go, "Oh, I know that. I know that," and that's great. I hope you say, "I know that." The question always is, well, are you doing what when you say "I know that"? So really, so the idea today, honestly, is I'm hoping that there'll be a few thoughts, maybe some ideas, some tips that can help anyone out there. And I'm not sure what the total profile is out there, but I'm sure a lot of you are job seekers. Perhaps you're currently in a job and just want to log in, which is fantastic. We welcome everyone, of course. But I believe strongly to this day that the 3 things that we're going to talk about apply to everybody in pretty well every situation, and you can sort of take it that way. So my goal, again, today is that you walk away with at least understanding of these 3 key messages that I'm going to share with you. And I'll be telling sort of my own story in the sense, and I've got some examples of things that help me be successful. Just for the record, by the way, before I go on, it may sound like, this guy's been successful, all kinds of things. Well, yes, I have. I've been lucky in my life. However, at the same time, have I had challenges like anybody else? I'm human like you. Absolutely. Have I failed at a few things here and there in my career and in life in general? Absolutely. However, I've had the privilege and the honor of succeeding at some key things that I wanted to achieve in my life. So I'm hoping that some of this helps you, maybe connects with you a little bit. Okay, so again, let's wrap. Let's talk a bit. So again, as Keisha said, if you have any questions or comments, you can sort of send them through, and we'll do our best to answer whatever we can. Oh, and before I go on, sorry, because I'm probably going to forget. You see my name here on the slide, Marcello Scarcella. Feel free to look my name up on LinkedIn, by all means, if you have a LinkedIn profile. And I certainly don't mind that sometimes, because I've done LinkedIn workshops as well and other trainings. So I don't mind giving a bit of feedback on your profile. If you would like a little bit of feedback on your LinkedIn profile, I don't mind doing that. I do that for many clients, and so no problem there. Or you want to connect and just send a message, and then we can touch base back and forth. So I just want you to know that from now, in case I forget to mention it. Okay, so here we go. Let's wrap. Okay, now I'm gonna ask you a question, by the way. I'm wondering if you know who this particular person or personality is. You see here, I've got King of Rock and Roll, Elvis Presley, and I don't want to assume too much. A lot of people seem to know it because he was the known as one of the top performers in music history. So Elvis Presley. So and if you're not sure, of course, don't get that the wrong way. You can certainly Google Elvis Presley. And this is a picture of Elvis or the character. And before I go on, I'm sure you guessed this already. I am the older version of this picture. It's me in costume. So I just wanted you guys to know that. I still have those same glasses. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Here we go. There we go. That's me. See, of course, I'm a little more mature now. I've got the gray highlights and that. This is back quite a few years ago, but That's me. So I just wanted just so you could see for yourself. Oh, so it's that guy. They probably wonder, well, what does this got to do with anything that relates to personal and professional success? In case you're wondering that. Well, there's a story around this whole concept of why I'm wearing this particular costume in this picture, for example. So, as you can see some of the questions on the screen here, has anyone ever heard of this guy? Well, again, hopefully you have heard of Elvis, King of Rock and Roll. He's one of the performers that could sing anything. But I don't want to digress too much on Elvis himself, but certainly just one of those great performers, great voice, great persona, great performance style. I don't know whether or not you've ever liked his music, but that's just wondering that. You can feel free to put that in the chat if you wish. And again, he's recognized as one of the greatest performers that ever lived. It's funny in life, there's very few people that reach a certain legacy or a certain level. So Elvis was known as the king of rock and roll. I don't know if anyone's a Michael Jackson fan. Of course, Michael Jackson's no longer with us, however, but he was known as the king of pop. But there are very few that really stand out that way. So it's just really cool to have had the privilege, I'm going to share more with you, of actually putting on that costume and doing other things that relate to that, which I'm going to share shortly. So I'd like to tell you a bit of a story. So that's really one of the things I'd like to kind of share with you today. Now, I've got here, I'm All Shook Up, which was, by the way, one of his popular songs. It's called All Shook Up. And I guess my question for everybody here, are you all shook up? In other words, are you doing some things out there that really are exciting and inspiring or moving you ahead, moving you further? And everyone, remember now, everyone's version of success, is different, it's really a personal thing when you get right down to it. So let's talk a bit more about that. Okay. Now, I did have a vision. I've always been and still am a strong believer in having that vision or having that picture in your mind. I'm going to spend some time on this because this is kind of where the story kind of begins. You want to call it that. So I'd like to share this story and I hope you find it a little bit interesting. And along the way, as we go through, I'm going to be able. I'll do my best to relate what's in the story to what the three letters stand for, the R.A.P, and also how it can relate to yourself, your current situation. If you're a job seeker, there's so many things that it can relate to. Okay, so I'm gonna go way back now. I'm going way back. Okay, I had a picture in my mind of educating and entertaining. Now I've always, again, as I said before, I've always believed that the power of having a picture in your mind, and this is, I think, I'm hoping a lot of you that are on the webinar today can relate to this. Have you ever had a picture something in your mind? It's like, yeah, I see myself doing that, but how do I get there? And it could be anything. Maybe you see yourself, I don't know, running a marathon, for example, or you see yourself riding a bicycle for the first time, or you see yourself achieving a certain, job or role in organization. If you see yourself, I always believe this. And I hope this is not. But this is just my take on everything, because I know it's worked for me. If you see a clear picture of what you see yourself doing, it's amazing how you tend to put yourself in positions or steps along the way. It's not always a straight line, of course. It may take a long time. It may take a short time. Everybody's different. But if the picture is clear, this is what's really neat, okay? Then and also, how does that clear picture, if it is clear, how does it make you feel every time you think about it? That's the key. So keep that thought in your mind. So, having that clear picture and what do you feel like when you see that picture in your mind? What does it make you feel? Does it make you feel inspired? Does it make you feel, oh, wow, you know what, someday I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, I know I need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G to get to that Z picture. You want to call it that. We'll use the alphabet. Okay. In my case, from when I was very young, I had this vision or this picture, and it was a pretty clear picture of really educating, entertaining people. And I couldn't even tell you why, basically, but it was very young. And I'm talking young, maybe 14, 15, believe it or not. I went to my mother. Now, you probably guess I don't usually bring this in, but it doesn't matter. My background is, I was born here in Canada. My parents are from Italy. Many years ago, they came in the early to mid 50s. They settled here and they began their life in Canada. Very, very proud of that. And so it's kind of cool. So my mother, is a beautiful lady. She's still with us, thank goodness. But I went to her, I was very young, and I said, Mom, and I don't know why, but I had this picture in my mind that I see myself. Almost every day I just have this picture in my head, of being maybe on a stage or maybe a platform, waving my hands, which I tend to do today. You can tell, and I'm saying something, or I'm performing, or I'm singing a song or different songs, and I have this in my head. Now, as a side note, by the way, I was studying music at this time. As a good Italian boy, I learned to play the accordion. I actually studied the instrument. Later on, I learned to play guitar and other instruments as well, and began singing and so on. But so I was kind of doing that. So I was in that musical mode, shall we say. However, but the picture just wouldn't go away. And my mother, come back. Now I can't do my mother very well because her Italian accent. But she come back and say, Marcello, that's a nice. Oh, someday maybe you teach, maybe you play some music. I mean, maybe play the accordion with other things. I don't know. Maybe that's nice. And now please go vacuum the carpet. And that'd be it. I go vacuum the carpet, and then once in a while I would bring it up. So it's interesting how. So now I'm going back quite a few years now. Right? I won't tell you how old I am now, but certainly that's where it all started, basically. Now, it's interesting because as I was going through school, the high school, into college, it's interesting. I always had that picture in my mind, and I tried to find ways to get involved and be on that road somehow, musically speaking. So, high school, I was involved with conducting orchestra and doing all kinds of things musically. I was involved in other things as well, like, they called the French club back then. We joined a French language group. Other things. So this went on for quite a while. And of course, now, as the years go by, you live your life. I was able to complete my education, achieve a full-time position. And throughout all this, I tried to find opportunities to at least convey some part of what I was able to convey, musically speaking. So I was in a band for a few years. I learned how to play guitar, and I learned how to sing backup harmony and sing songs and so on. I did all that, and I played the accordion for various events. And so music has always been a big part of my life since way back. Okay, so again, time goes by. I'm building my career, and now it's interesting because my first third of my career, shall we say, or the first third of my life, shall we say, I was in the retail sector, the retail industry, and I had different levels of roles in the retail industry. It started from step one up to senior management, the territory management, and area management within retail. But it's interesting, even going through that type of career. Remember, going back to my picture, okay, and I still had it. It was always in my head, that clear picture. I always try to find ways to do something a little bit different. So many times I would, without realizing I was doing it, I just did it because I thought, hey, this is a neat idea. How can we increase or improve customer service, for example, in the retail sector? And I would put myself out there and collaborate with human resources. So collaborate with HR. I was doing that. I was putting myself in there in that circle to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we come up with a customized program here, work together that could really be of value and try to contribute to increasing customer service impact. So another thing. So what I'm trying to say with all of this is that I found ways to kind of move towards doing something that was involved with teaching, educating. And of course, the entertainment part was in there too, because I was playing accordion on the side and playing for different events and getting paid money on part-time. And I had the band going for a while. So really, if you look at it, this educating, entertaining was always a big part of my life. I was just sort of just doing it, but the picture was always there. So I kept that going, built my career. I was going through, I was in the retail sector for quite a few years. Then, of course, sometimes things happen in life. Well, things happen, right? Well, I was re-engineered what they call it, restructured. So basically downsized. The company I was working with, they were downsizing, and that affected me at that point. This is around the early 90s. Now I'm going back now, but the 1990s or so. Wow, I think to myself, my goodness. Okay, so here I am now, young family. This happens. I'm in my early 30s at that time. And it's like, wow, what's next? Now, through all of this, I was working with my father-in-law at that time, had his own training company. And I always found ways, as I told you before, when I was with in the retail sector, I always tried to find ways to train and do something to help with customer service and enhance customer service impact. So wow, okay, so here we go. Now this has happened. What am I going to do? At this time, I had already started working with my father-in-law on creating some content for a program that we were going to propose to be taught at Humber College here in Toronto. This is all, and again, so here comes these educating teaching part is coming in. Never thinking that, but still had that picture in my mind though. Okay, so this started to happen a little bit, but still, but it's a bit of a low. It was a low time in my life for sure. It was a tough one. What do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? Well, hey, you know what? I was listening to a radio station. Back then it was called 1050 Chum AM, but basically it was a rock and roll radio station. They feature songs from the era of the 50s and 60s, rock and roll music. And you know what? I thought, and they were having a contest, and it was in a certain week. Anyway, there, I would listen to it, and the idea is that you have to call in if you wanted to enter the contest. Call in. One of the people on the radio station would talk to you on the phone, do a quick interview, and ask you to sing a song, and they would play the background music with the background, if you can understand what I'm saying, is background music over the radio station so other people could hear it and hear you sing along with the background music. Well, guess what the song was? All Shook Up. That's why I got All Shook Up in here, by the way. Okay, that was the song. Now, of course, I knew some of the Elvis' music because I used to kind of, I liked his music back then. And I wasn't a huge fan, but I liked his music. And once in a while I would goof around with the voice, just more for family stuff, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. But so anyway, I thought, what I'm going to call. I made a decision. Notice the words I'm using, by the way. I made a decision, made a choice, took a risk, took a gamble. I went outside my comfort zone. Okay. And I hope you're getting this now. You hear those key words in there, right? Took a gamble, took a risk, stepped out of my comfort zone and made the call. Now, you never get through on the first call when you try once on these on the contest and radio station, but guess what? I apologize. Dialed. I'm going back quite a long way now, okay, on the phone, okay? It wasn't even a touchstone, it was like dial, okay? Anyway, so I got through, and the person on the phone, we talked a bit, the 10 words or less. I sang the song. I figured, well, I'm just gonna go for it. I just made that decision, okay? Remember, I still, this is the picture in my mind. It was always there, through that whole time, okay? So interesting in life sometimes, what can happen, so I sang the song, and they had people do it, each day. And long story short, they did a big vote at the end of the week, and for some reason, people voted for me, having whatever the best voice or just the best version of All Shook Up. So wow, that's cool. I was kind of excited about that and everything else. And meanwhile, I'm working on some of that other stuff I was telling you about, the little bit of customer service content and so on. And it's like, okay, this is cool. All right, sometimes when things happen in life, what do they say? When a door closes, another door opens. All right, hey, here we go. This is great. All right, cool. So I did the song. Now, there were two prizes back then. One prize was a stay overnight and have a fancy dinner at a room, shall we say, at the Sky Dome. By the way, the Sky Dome is currently the Scotiabank Arena. So that same building back then was called the Sky Dome. So I'm just to give you a bit of perspective there. And the other part of the prize was they asked me if I would be able to perform All Shook Up or sing the song that I did over the phone as part of a show that they were producing and putting together at the Sky Dome / Scotiabank Arena, featuring many of the back then popular rock and roll singers, of the time that would come back and feature some of their big hits and perform actually during this big show. I mean, but what do you do, right? You're as my mother always says, when you're in the dance, you dance. By the way, I love that quote. And my mother says with more accent, when you in the dance, you dance. So isn't that true, folks? I don't know how you guys feel about that. So when you're in that moment, you go for it. Yeah? So great. Now it was going to be happening in 2 weeks' time from that date. So here we are now. And I tell my wife, honey, I've never actually performed. I goof around with it, but so what am I going to do? Well, it's interesting. Notice the line that I have at the bottom of the slide here. Success happens when preparation meets opportunity. And many of you have heard that quote. It's been said by many people. Oprah Winfrey made it very famous. Other individuals, Anthony Robbins is another one. Just to say, but think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Success can happen when preparation meets opportunity. If you're prepared, if you've studied or you've done research or whatever the case may be, and so that, or you've improved your skills or strengthened your skills, or worked in parts of who you are, whatever you've done, if you are prepared, then when the opportunity comes, you're ready to go, basically. So really think about this, the story I'm telling with you so far. And I hope, by the way, I hope somebody finds this interesting. I know it sounds like it's a long story, but I wanted to share this with you. So please let me know if this kind of connects and makes some sense a little bit. In my case, and I'm gonna continue on here, some success did happen because I was prepared. Remember everything I've told you so far, right? When I was young and putting myself in positions to collaborate and to create, opportunities to train and to educate and to teach. And of course, the music has always been part of me as well, as you just heard. And won the contest because I made a decision to take a chance and to gamble and get through. And hey, won the contest. Didn't expect to win at all, but certainly I did at that point. And then, hey, now I have a chance to perform the song in a big show that they're producing. Wow. Okay. So already the success has been happening because I was prepared and the opportunity came. Oh, but wait, stay tuned. There's more that relates to this quote. Okay. Okay. So you've got, as you can see, the first letter in R.A.P is research, right? So there you go. So there's the first part of the whole thing. Naturally, as I said before, there's a 2-week time frame, coming up after winning the actual contest, and say, okay, boy, all right, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Well, so I got to do some research. All right, so what do? I watched Elvis videos. Yes, videos. I know you're probably thinking, come on, Marcello, videos, but I found some of his videos where it was live concerts, not so much as movies, but when he performed live. And I watched and observed. I observed the mannerisms, the hands. I know we're on a webinar, so I can't really show you too much, but the hand movements. I studied. I watched it. I observed. I practiced in front of a mirror. I studied his body language, his style, his vocal style. So that was a big part of my research. I observed his charisma, his engaging approach with his orchestra and the audience on stage. He was a very charismatic performer. Now I'm sharing all this. So here's the question on the slide. How does this apply to personal and professional success? Stay tuned. Well, yeah, we're talking about that. But so I'm going to stop here for a moment. So I've told you, my story so far, and I'm going to get to the part where there's some more coming up afterwards. But how does this apply to your own personal or professional success? First of all, doing research. I mean, how important is research? I think everybody knows it's important in so many different ways. I mean, what does research do for you? Just the concept of just doing research. About a certain situation where you are. Let's pick something, for example. Let's say a lot of you are job seekers. Okay, for example. Sorry, I just saw the message on my screen. I apologize. So let's say a lot of your job seekers, for example, and or you've been working with a company for a while, okay, and you're getting ready for an interview. Let's pick that, for example. You're getting ready for an interview. Okay, all right. Well, let's think about that. Would we all agree that getting ready for an interview is important? Okay, obviously it is. Okay, is researching the company, important. Yes, we know that. And of course, these days, especially, there are so many tools available out there. It's incredible, incredible. I mentioned to you about my LinkedIn profile at the beginning. Well, LinkedIn is a great tool. There's no question, and I'm probably a lot of you. I would probably think most of you have a LinkedIn profile. If you don't, I would certainly encourage you to do so. You can always go LinkedIn.com, and it takes you through creating your LinkedIn profile. So, I mean, and you can research individuals or companies. I mean, so many different ways. Of course, there's Google. There's LinkedIn. So everybody out there knows that the importance of research. And the more you know, of course, it helps you with your confidence level. It increases your understanding. So if you're getting ready for an interview, research, I will agree, is very important. You might even get some perspective when you're researching. It can help you in problem solving. Perhaps get some new ideas as you're getting information. So again, I think we all agree this is important. And so this was a big part of what I had to do to get ready for doing the actual performance. Okay, so that's just one example of the importance of research and how it applies, for example, job interviews. All right, maybe you're getting ready for to do a presentation at your workplace. With what you do in your company. Well, what are you going to do? Well, research is a big part of that. I think we all agree on that. You might be researching the audience that's going to be there for the presentation. That's just one example. So let's move on. So research, I think we agree. So there's the R in R.A.P, first of all. All right. Now, this is one of my favorites, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. Attitude. That's the A in R.A.P. So far we've got research, and we have the A in R.A.P. Okay. Now, it's interesting. I could go on about this. This is what I've done a lot of training sessions over the years. I was a corporate trainer as well over the years. I taught for a number of years part-time in the continuing education part of Humber College. I remember I was telling that story about I was preparing content with my father-in-law. Well, that's what it led to. But before I talk about attitude, I'm gonna continue my story, and then I'm gonna come back to this, if that's okay with everybody out there. Okay. By the way, how are we doing? I hope everybody's okay. Anybody wants to just tell us or tell Keisha. Hopefully some of this is resonating and connecting with some of you. That's my goal anyway. So I'm going to go back now to getting ready for the Elvis performance. So I practiced, I rehearsed, I studied the moves as I was telling you before, and a big part of and again that's part of the research. And of course another big part of getting through all that, of course, is having the right attitude. Do we agree? Absolutely, having the right attitude. Now you notice here I've got here attitude equals 100. I've always believed attitude is 100% of everything. It's really the base of everything we do. Now, and this is just a way to prove it mathematically. I'm not a big mathematician, okay? And so if you're curious, even on your own time, or if you want to take an image of this with your phone or whatever, if you take this is based on our alphabet, English alphabet. So if you look at each letter, look at the position that it lands in the alphabet. So A, of course, is 1. It's the first letter. T, I think, is 20. T is 20. So if you look at each letter and see where it lands in the number in the alphabet, and I can guarantee you when you do it, if you do it all correctly, it's going to equal 100. So there you go. Attitude, mathematically proven, equals 100. Let's put it that way. Okay. So again, very important to realize it. Again, one of my favorite topics, mindset. And you got some keywords here on the slide that I put here purposely. Okay. I think we all agree that mindset is very important. And again, we're talking about personal, professional success. All right. What's your mindset? Are you doubting yourself? I mean, how strong is your mindset? Is it positive? Is it negative? I think we all know, we probably think of a lot of examples of the power of the mindset. Okay. Even something as simple as how you start your day. Now, again, and I have to remind myself of this too, by the way. I'm not just sharing this, I'm saying this to you and everybody out there, but I'm also reminding myself the same thing every day. I have my down days, by the way, in case you're wondering, like anybody else. And we all need that to get, self-care is important, especially in the recent times, especially in the last 2 years. I'm sure everybody would agree that, the importance of self-care and the strength of your mindset and what you do to what you can do. Everybody's probably does something differently, and that's great. Do what works best for you as far as keeping yourself either calm or inspired or physically and mentally charged. I know for me, I'm going to tell you honestly, it's nothing fancy, but I have a goal, and I set my goal, and I go for walks that are half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. I do it at least 3 to 4 times a week minimum, sometimes more than that. And I came off routine a little bit the last month or so, I'm going to be honest. However, I'm back on track now because I made that decision, because I know I feel better when I do that. That's just an example. Okay. So mindset, very important. Self-talk. What are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself? I mean, this is huge. Okay. When you look in the mirror in the morning, and I hope you do. I know I do. Look in the mirror, kind of go, hey, you know what? Like, what are you telling yourself? You don't have to say it out loud, but certainly in your mind, are you saying, you know what? I feel good today. I used to do something when I did live sessions before workshops. There's a gentleman, I'm going to throw a name out here, Brian Tracy, Tracey. Brian Tracy. He's still with us these days. He's probably in his mid 80s, early 90s right now, but he's still active, believe it or not. And but he's been a guru, an expert over the years on the psychology of achievement. So if you want to look up Brian Tracy at some point and look up, that's one of his first books that he wrote, but he wrote many things that relate to psychology of achievement. And one of the key things he talked about, believe it or not, was something called, like saying to yourself, I like myself. I know it might sound crazy. You're probably saying, come on, Marcello, really? Hey, I dare anyone out there, including Keisha, by the way, we're on the line here, to look in the mirror in the morning or anytime, basically, and just say those words. I like myself. Say it with conviction. I like myself. I like myself. I used to do that. I used to hand out a small little mirror you buy at the dollar store, little square thing. I used to hand it out to people and have them do that in the session. And it's interesting, the feedback from that is like they actually began, not in all cases, but certainly in many cases, began to kind of feel actually a little bit better. But you do it over time. It's like developing a habit. Habits take time, usually 20 to 25 days. If you do something consecutively speaking, it becomes a habit. So, I mean, again, very important. Was mindset and self-talk important for me when I, in the story that I've been sharing with you? Absolutely. Energy. Well, energy. Where does energy come from? We all have a different level of energy. Let's put it that way. And that's many times a personal thing. But we certainly feel more energetic if we take good care of ourselves, mentally, spiritually, physically. We're eating good foods, good diet. I mean, how you feel about what you're doing, or if you have that clear picture that I've been talking about in your mind, are you drawn to that picture? Are you doing things to kind of get to where you really see yourself? Again, you think about that picture. What do you see yourself doing? And how do you feel whenever you see that? Whenever I had that picture in my mind over the years. And I've been very fortunate to be able to do many parts of that in different ways throughout and I'm still doing it now. With Access Employment, it's amazing how I've been involved in doing the educating, the teaching, the training, developing content. The entertaining part has been in there as well. I performed it just kind of for fun over the years within Access and other things. So I mean, it's that's part of it. But I've always had that picture. It wouldn't have happened. That decision I made to make that call to enter the contest that I told you about would not have happened if I didn't have that clear picture. I believe that to this day. So that's how important it is to take that that chance, that risk, get out of your comfort zone, have that clear picture. So for whatever it might be, whether it's for a job or maybe a new role or a promotion or to achieve something physically, whatever it might be in your life. So again, the research we talked about, very important, right? We know that. Attitude, really important. So again, energy, that's comes from that. Focus, and what I'm going to add to the word focus is focus on what you can control, not what you can't control. Yeah, we know this phrase, but think about that. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't control. Okay. What can you control? Well, you can control how you communicate. Would you agree? Can you control, how you, your image? Can you control your attitude? Can you control how much preparation you do, how much research you do before maybe an interview or whatever it might be, right? So now that's a mindset. That's a choice you make. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't control. If you focus on what you can't control, the weather, or if someone's going to be in a maybe not such a good mood if you meet up with them in an interview or an appointment or whatever the case may be. There are many things you just can't control. Which ties into, I'm going to go over to the fear part of the slide here. Fear stands for a couple of things, really. It can really stand for one of two things. It could be future events appear real. Some people have used that. Future events appear real. That's that what if game. Do you ever play that what if game in your mind? This can impact any of us out there. Any of us, okay? In other words, it's that, but what if? Oh, what if I fail? What if I don't come across very well to the interviewer or whatever it might be? You keep saying a what if, then that increases the chances of something like what you're thinking about in your mind actually happening. It's amazing how the mind works. So I encourage you to at least try to choose not to play the what if game. Let's put it that way. So instead, fear can also mean face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. You know what? Things are going to happen in life. We all know this. Again, we're only human. Again, I remind you, I've had them myself too. But how you face the things that happen in life make all the difference in the world. We all know this. This gets back to attitude. It gets back to your mindset. Okay, so face everything and rise. You can do this, but again, it's a choice you make. We all have our challenges. We maybe, whether it's not feeling well or you're not quite feeling good with your mindset. I mean, that happens. It's happened to a lot of people, especially the last couple of years with what's been going on. Absolutely. But the biggest part is being able to talk it out and to realize the value that you have. Everybody on this call and anyone that there's so much value that you are able to impart and communicate out there. But you've got to allow yourself to do it. Everybody here has a story to tell, by the way. I mean, I'm going to give you this is one of my stories, okay? Everybody has their own story. And I always say to clients in particular, you know what? People need to experience your story, but more importantly, even beyond the story, you need to experience who you are. Experience your character, your personality, your style. Okay, just like I studied Elvis's stuff, his style and his charisma, for example. People need to experience who you are. People see you on LinkedIn, they see your profile, and whatever, and that's great, that's fantastic. But they're not getting that full story. So of course, the next step you hope is to work towards, and that's by connecting with people on LinkedIn and reaching out, and eventually, having a meeting, perhaps like what we're doing now, or doing like a Zoom meeting where you're actually able to talk to each other, okay? Or if you have a chance to do something live, and that's happening now, where people are beginning to do more live things. So the combination of both. But either way, whether it's online or face to face, people need to experience you. So you owe it to yourself to put yourself out there. Bottom line, put yourself out there. It's not easy, I realize, for a lot of people, but you owe it to yourself to do so. Okay? And that's all a big part of the word attitude. All right. Self-image. Again, this goes back to again, are you happy with your image? How do you feel? It's funny. I was commenting with Keisha earlier about I'm just about my hair, for example. I'm very blessed to have hair, so I'm very lucky. I'm okay with that. My son is a barber besides his full-time career, so I'm lucky to have an in-house barber. But it's amazing how even having a fresh cut, let's say, that's part of your self-image. I don't want to tell you. I look in the mirror afterwards and kind of go, all right, looking good, feel good. Not to sound, I'm not trying to pull one of these. I don't know if you see that on my arm, but you know what? It's like an image reset. We all sometimes need that image reset, whether it's a haircut or just maybe a different look, or maybe a fresh set of clothes, or whatever it is. You know what? We all need that for sure. Okay. Now, so before I go on to the next couple of slides, I'm just checking the timer. We're 11:41. Okay. All right. Cool. Sorry, Keisha, I'll try my best to kind of keep going here. So a few more things I've got, so I want to make sure I cover, but I don't want to. I'll watch our time. So thanks in advance for that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the stories. Here we are now. Okay, so if you think back to what I said to you before, I was getting ready to do the Elvis performance. My attitude, my mindset, I practiced, I studied, oh, and of course I said to myself, well, if I'm going to do this, notice my wording here. I said, if I'm going to do this, hey, might only be my one chance to really give it my best shot. So I'm going to make the best possible impact or best possible impression that I can. So guess what? I did some research. That's part of the research, and I was able to rent a relatively fairly good quality Elvis costume. The one you saw in the picture earlier, by the way, that was actually the first one that my mother-in-law made for me. You see, it was all in the family. My wife made all the red scarves. My mother-in-law made the Elvis. Actually, she made 3 or 4 for me, actually, suits. And my wife made the red scarves, and she would actually do the little inscription on the scarves as well. Oh yeah, so this is a whole family thing, you see. Anyway, so here we are. Okay, I'm getting ready. So now 2 weeks go by. Boom. All right, ready to go. So we arrive at the Scotiabank Arena. Okay, and they're getting ready for the show and all that, and so fine. The show goes on. There's some great performers, and I'm backstage waiting to go on. Basically, believe it or not, I've got the suit on. I've got dark glasses, the ones I showed you at the beginning. Same glasses, by the way. Believe it or not, it's the same glasses. I had these on. My hair was dark, of course, back then. Not now, but back then it was dark. So I actually painted. That sounds funny. Sideburns on here, so I had the look of Elvis. So I did that. I was ready to go. So the music starts up. I get out there. They introduce me, ladies and gentlemen, live Marcello Scarcella as Elvis Presley. Can you imagine whether it's applause and lights? I had no idea how many people were there. I found out afterwards. Anyway, I did the song. Gave him my best shot. Well, bless my soul, what's wrong with me? I met you like a mountain on the fuzzy tree. My friends say I'm out, then there was a bug. I'm into love. I'm all shook up. Anyway, that was a little bit of the song, and got applause. That was fantastic, great. And what they did is the MC came over to me and said, "Hey, Marcello, that was a great job. Wow, the king of rock and roll, Elvis. My goodness. So what do you do?" That was the next question, by the way. So what do you do? I remember at this time I was telling you a story where I had just been downsized from the company that I work with. I was starting to do a few things with my father-in-law, but I had to do customer service, but I wasn't actually active in it in that sense. I had done some preparation, musically and with the developing content. See where I'm going with all this? Okay. Success happens when preparation meets opportunity. Well, when he said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a customer service specialist." That's all I said. I said, "I'm a customer service specialist." That's a branding I came up. I just on the fly on the spot. Tell us more about that. Well, I design and develop specialized customer service training to help organizations improve their service levels. That's kind of what I said, basically. Of course, in my mind, I kind of go, "What? Marcello, you got to be kidding. Where did that come from?" Anyway, so guess what? After the whole thing was over, the president of the Sky Dome back then, okay, his name was Richard Petty. He became CEO, became in charge of Maple Leaf Entertainment for quite a few years. Anyway, he came down, this is afterwards, hand me his card. He said, "Hey, Marcello, I really enjoyed this. Listen, I understand that you do customer service training. That's great. I'd like to get in touch with our customer service senior manager and arrange for you to come in and do some training." This is the truth. This is what happened. Okay. Remember the quote? Success happens when preparation meets opportunity. Well, I was prepared in a lot of ways, probably more than what I realized, but that just came out right at that moment. And guess what? I got the call. I went into the training. They had a request to do a combined training of come in as Elvis the King with some music, but also deliver a message that related to customer service. So I started getting calls to do combined training of education and entertainment. Whew, this is a long story, eh? There's a lot of things happening there. So anyway, that went on, that developed, and I got calls to do further training and further. And then I joined up with a talent agency, so I got called to do Elvis performances as well as teaching and training and so on over and above my career. Because then I got into the whole recruitment staffing industry in the 90s, and then I had another vision to have my own business. So again, I was prepared to do that. I started that in 1998. Did that for 6 years, about 6 years, almost 7, where I had I educated people, did training, did seminars, did teaching, and so on, and also entertained as well. And I called it Edutain. That was the company, edu-tain. And that just went on and it kept building and developing. So I'm hoping with all of this, you're seeing where the R.A.P formula came into play and has come into play. Oh, let me squeeze in something else here very briefly. Okay, it's 11:47. I apologize. I'm going to just finish off with a couple of things. So I also had another goal. So again, I had a picture in my mind. Remember, that picture was always involving whether entertaining or teaching or training or being in front of an audience. By the way, speaking of audience, before I forget, at the Sky Dome, Scotiabank Arena, I found out that I could perform in front of over 17,000 people. Yes, 17,000 people. I had no idea, but I found out afterwards. I almost fainted. So did my wife too, by the way, almost fainted. Incredible, incredible. I had another goal, which happened actually in 1999. I had a goal to sing the Canadian and the American national anthems at a baseball game. You have singers that will sing at the beginning of sporting events. Well, believe it or not, I had that as a goal too. And guess what? I did my research. I had to find out what was required. I connected with the people that needed to be connected with. I did my research, did my networking. You know what? I submitted my demo. You want to call it just me singing with both anthems. I was chosen to come and I sang for the opening game in 1998, actually, in front of 28,000 people at the Sky Dome / Scotiabank Arena. So I'm just putting that in there. It probably sounds like I'm doing a lot of this. Remember, there are a lot of things that I didn't succeed at, but I'm trying to give you the highlights of how powerful this can be when you have a vision, a picture, and you make the choice to do what you need to do. Okay, all right. So, and last but not least, and we've covered some of this already, plan. So there's the P in R.A.P. We talked about research, talked about attitude, talked about the P, which is plan. Okay. Talk about focus, preparation. I've talked a lot about that. About, it's important to prepare yourself. This is for anything in life. I think we all agree on this. Whether you want to go for a family trip, what do you have to do? You got to research. You got to prepare, right? You're going for an interview. Okay, practice. Oh, that's important. You got to, practice responding to various questions. Practice in front of a mirror. And people say that a lot, but it's very powerful, very powerful. It's focused on steps versus mountains. Now, when I say that, meaning in your journey to, whatever you have in your mind that you want to achieve or go for, you know what? It's easy to think about, big picture is important because I believe in that too. However, if all you think about it, but it's going to take a long time to get there. And if I don't get there sooner or later, I'll be disappointed. You know what? It's about steps. When you go up a flight of stairs, you jump, unless you're Spider-Man, do you jump up the whole stairs or do you go one step at a time? Of course, we climb the stairs one step at a time. How about a pizza? Unless you're really hungry, you don't eat a whole pizza one shot, you eat it one slice at a time. I know this, think about that. So it's about steps versus mountain. That's what I mean by that. So celebrate the steps, whatever you're working towards. Hey, if you have a goal to connect with 10 people on LinkedIn, this week, hey, each one you connect with, celebrate that. If you connect with one today or one tomorrow, hey, celebrate that. Be happy with that. Be proud and celebrate the steps that you achieve along the way. And if you don't do that, then you can become disappointed very, very quickly or lose that sense of motivation and inspiration. Okay. Last but not least, SMART goals. I think probably a lot of you know what SMART goals, but I just thought I'd put this in because it's very powerful. It applies to many people. SMART stands for 5 keywords really. Goals to be effective need to be specific. They need to be measurable. So this is what it stands for. Okay, specific, measurable, attainable. Okay, like you want to set a goal that's too high that you never reach that. Okay, but it needs to be at least attainable. And the R stands for, is it relevant? It's relevant to what you really want to achieve in your life or in your professional life or your personal life. Okay, and T, is it time bound? So have you established a time frame? It could be something personal and hey, and I just set this up actually in January this year. For example, my goal is to lose 20 pounds by the end of April. And I said this in January. I thought, that to me is attainable. Okay, my goal is to lose 20 pounds by the end of April by walking minimum 4 to 5 times per week. half hour to 45 minutes by doing light aerobics, and by cutting up my evening snacks, which I'm a big snack guy. So, and this is, so that just give you kind of an example. That's a very short version of a SMART goal, but it's personal. Okay. So I just want to share that with you. So again, this is all big. So planning in itself, P, back in the formula, right? R.A.P, research, attitude, plan, applies to all of us in so many different ways. And hopefully you see that as, and hopefully some of the things I talked about can, connect with you a little bit anyway. Okay, so I'm just gonna move on a little bit here. Just a few quotes that I like. I mean, I've got all kinds of quotes that I personally love, but I just wanted to share some of these with you. Be proud of every step you take. I just said that, okay? Be proud of every step you take. And, if you just, taking that one little step towards what you want to achieve, whatever that might be, hey, you know what? Celebrate it. Make sure you celebrate that. You owe it to yourself. You decide your vibe. Everybody, so again, the vibe is another way of saying energy. You choose every day, you decide whether you're gonna have a positive vibe or energy or a negative, vibe or energy. It is your choice. No pressure on us, right? But we have the power to choose. Visualize to realize. Well, hopefully the story has shared some of that with you. It's kind of made you realize, or as a part of that message. You know what? The more that you visualize clearly in your mind what you want to achieve and how you feel when you see that picture, then that increases your chances of actually realizing that picture. Okay, that's really what I'm trying to say. Small changes can lead to a big change. Absolutely. So sometimes, you know what? If you've done something a certain way for a long time, hey, sometimes you got to try something else. But don't make a huge change. Perhaps instead of trying to connect with 5 people per day, let's say on LinkedIn, I would go back to that. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2. Maybe it's trying to schedule more, one-on-ones, or maybe part of your strategy, instead of doing some of that, is to add to that and say, you know what, I want to attend at least 2 or 3 online events or whatever that might be each week. Now, for example, ACCESS Employment has many of those webinars and so on. It's just incredible that are actually coordinated and hosted by the online services team. Keisha is part of that, by the way. One of my favorite quotes at the end here, I've used this for years. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Okay, so think about that for a moment. We become what we think about. We think about being positive. Well, you know what? And if that's your goal, that's what you're seeing in your mind, that's what you're feeling, there's a good chance you're going to move towards that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen magically all the time. But if you think about being, oh, it's sad. Like, this morning I could have said, oh, I'm just tired. Oh man, kind of a flat day. There's a good chance you're going to have that kind of day, no matter what. But you think about having a positive day, inspirational day. Doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but it increases the odds, the probability, because that's how you're thinking. So that line is very important. We become what we think about. So hopefully some of this helps you a little bit. And of course, I've got here, let's RAP for life. How does the RAP formula apply to our personal and professional success? Well, hopefully I've answered that question as we've gone through this presentation. So hopefully a few things that connected with you. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I'm watching our time. Sorry, Keisha, I know it's 5:02. I apologize for that. I don't know if there's any questions or in the chat that I'd be happy to answer. Thank you so much for your time, guys. And listen, remember, RAP. Thank you so much, guys. Let's RAP. Thanks, Keisha.
Marcello. Does anybody have any questions for Marcello? If so, you can feel free to type it into the question and answer box at the bottom. Doesn't look like we have any. Okay, thank you so much, Marcello.
Okay.
Oh, I see here, Deepna, if you have a question, are you able to type it into the chat or the Q&A box?
Oh, that's cool. Don't worry, I will take it personally if there are any questions, and no worries there at all.
All right, so we will wrap it up. Marcello, again. Oh, we do have a question.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem.
Let's take a look here. So Mina would like to know if you could elaborate on down times when you feel down, depressed, confused.
Oh, okay. Sorry, if I can elaborate, is that the question?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, is it Mina?
Yes,
Is
Mina.
that the name? Hi, Mina.
Mina.
Wow. You know what? I could actually go on about that, but I know our time is limited. But let me, if I could just quickly say this, if I may, if you want to send me a message on LinkedIn, I can always comment further. I have no problem with that. But and we all have, as I mentioned before in the presentation, you know what? We all have our downtimes, no question. I've had mine even up to recently too. We all have them. We're only human. I'm only human too. Well, I can tell you what has helped me. So I don't know if this is going to connect with you, but I know what has helped me is, you know what? Is actually forcing myself to remind myself of what I have been able to do in my life and in my career, my personal life, whatever the case may be. And when I start to remind myself, it actually helps me. It actually creates that sort of that positive picture when I've done that, and I still do sometimes too, because again, we all have our downtimes. Absolutely, it's going to happen. Something else that I tend to do, because sometimes we get off track. I know what works for me. Nina, I don't know what works for you as far as feeling good about what you're doing. Maybe it's I don't know whether it's exercise or listening to music or whatever the case may be. If you've gone off track, doing whatever makes you feel calm or good or inspired, you know what? If you've gone off track, go back to that or try something like that. I that's what helps me as well too. Is I'll find something on YouTube, or because I'll just find just something that'll lift my spirit. Here's something too. Now this is on YouTube, by the way. Speaking of which, I love watching what they call bloopers. I don't know if you know what a blooper is. It's like when you have shows, and sometimes if people are laughing because they can't get through a scene or they make mistakes, they actually sometimes will put them on YouTube, and you watch bloopers of different shows or whatever, news shows or popular shows from the past. This might sound crazy, but believe it or not, I do that quite often too. And I start laughing. And even just the act of watching that and making me, and I'm laughing at it, it's like, wow, look at that. You know what? I just feel better. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that try to find those things that even some of the instantaneous feeling of, oh yeah, okay, all right, you know what? I need to do more of this. I don't know if that helps you at all, but I hope that's the best way I can answer it. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Marcello. So we do have quite a few questions coming in now.
Okay.
So Estefania has two questions.
Okay.
They would like to know, how can we prioritize our plans when we want to achieve a lot of things?
Oh my goodness. Okay, great question, by the way. Yeah, I think that's the first thing, is when you want to achieve. Again, I've been through this too. When you want to achieve many things, that's the fact that you feel like you want to achieve many things is a good thing. However, at the same time, it can actually have the reverse effect. So what I'm trying to say is, even though there are many things, and here's what I've done. Maybe this might help you a little bit. Is I've used, people use it, do different things. I've used, believe it or not, I know I'm going to age myself now, but I use flip chart paper. And I've actually, where I work now from home, I've got there's on one of the walls, I've got actual flip chart paper. Of course, I can't show it to you right now, but where I've drawn circles of what I want to achieve, and it might be 5 or 6 big circles, what those are. And then I've begun to prioritize what I want to achieve first or second. So it really it's a personal choice, but you've got it. But many times, if you do something visual, if you visually put those many things that you want to achieve, whether it's on paper or whatever whatever works for you. People use sometimes what's called a vision board. There's all kinds of things. But if you visually look at it and say, okay, this is I want to achieve 5 things, but here's the most important one. It might be securing a job. I'm not saying that is, or it might be, you want to become a better public speaker. I'm just throwing that out there, for example. Okay, that's the most important thing for me, because I want to have more confidence in speaking and communicating out there. All right, that's my most important goal. Well, all right, great. That's number 1. So in other words, pick that thing that says, okay, I want if I do this, whatever that is, I want to feel better about doing that or communicating. Or so, does that make any sense, by the way? Does that help a little bit? Yes, no, maybe.
Thank you, Marcello. Diane wants to know, what was the name of the book that you mentioned by Brian Tracy?
Oh, it's actually called The Psychology of Achievement. Yeah, it's called The Psychology of Achievement. And the book came out many years ago. And I know I hope that helps you. By the way, another book I'll mention, sorry, Keisha, if I may, since I'm on this, for everyone out there, if you're curious, and it's a classic. It was written originally in 1936. Wow, a long time ago. Believe it or not, the book has been republished, recirculated over the years. It's sold something like 30 or 40 million copies. It's a classic. It's a must read. And I don't usually say this about books, but it's a must read. Okay. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It is amazing. And I would encourage everyone to read that book. You can find it even on Google. You can look at the highlights or the outline or whatever. So I just thought I'd share that while we're on here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so that will wrap it up as the end of the presentation. Marcello, thank you so much.
Thank you.